Have you ever felt like your life is just one exhausting battle with no end in sight? The unnamed struggles, money, love, health, recognition, they all seem to demand that you fight, push, strive, and win. But what if I told you that life isn't a battle at all? What if it's a game? A divine game with rules already written, not by man, but by the infinite intelligence of the universe. And like every game, this one has its own laws. Not the laws of the world, not the law of the jungle, or some vague law of attraction. These are spiritual laws encoded through your words, your beliefs, and the images you hold in your mind. This is the wisdom Florence Scovel Shinn, a pioneer of metaphysical thought in the 20th century, left behind as a key to unlock a new kind of life. A life without fear, without lack, without loneliness. A life aligned with divine will. Let me tell you a true story. A story about an ordinary man, nothing particularly special about him. Except for one thing, he was haunted by a deep fear of cancer. Every day he searched for information, read articles, watched videos, and imagined himself sick. He pictured his pale face, imagined hospital beds, even his own death. And a few months later, strangely enough, he was diagnosed with the very disease he feared. No one could explain it, but Florence could. Because what you see in your mind, you will meet in your life. You see, we don't live according to truth. We live according to what's been etched into our subconscious. You can imagine yourself as a failure, and you'll fail. But you can also learn to imagine yourself as chosen, and you will begin to live a destiny far greater than your small thoughts could ever conceive. If you've ever heard the phrase, imagination is more important than knowledge, Florence Scovel Shinn would go one step further and say imagination is the scissors of the mind, constantly cutting and shaping the fabric of your reality day by day. Every word you speak, every picture you hold, every emotion you cradle in your heart, they are commands given to your subconscious. And the subconscious, like a loyal servant, will carry them out with absolute precision, whether it leads to heaven or to hell. So if you're tired of fighting, stop. Not to give up, but to listen. Because deep within you, there is a sacred blueprint. Florence called it the divine design, the perfect plan created just for you. It is unlike anyone else's, and no one can fulfill it but you. You don't need to create your destiny. You only need to remember it. By becoming still. By listening to your inner voice. By speaking the truth you wish to see. That is how you play the game of life by the laws of the soul. In the next chapter, we'll dive into the element Florence considered the cornerstone of the entire game, an element that seems so simple yet holds immense power: imagination. I'll show you how to use your imagination to call forth the life you long for, not by striving, not by forcing, but by believing and envisioning the right way. Did you know the outer world is merely a faint reflection of what's happening inside your mind? That's right, your reality doesn't begin with circumstances. It begins with the images you hold in your imagination. Florence Scovel Shinn once said, "The imagination has been called the scissors of the mind, and it is ever cutting day by day, the pictures man sees there, and sooner or later he meets his own creation in his outer world. Imagine you're walking through a quiet garden. In your hand you carry a single seed. Gently you place it in the soil, nurture it, water it, and trust that one day it will sprout. Imagination works the same way. Every image you plant is a seed. But here's the sad truth: many people don't realize they're constantly sowing negative seeds, illness, poverty, rejection, failure. And then they wonder why their lives are filled with unwanted realities. A woman once came to Florence, her eyes weary, her spirit heavy. She said, "I always pictured my husband dying. Whenever he stayed out late, I imagined an accident. And now, it's happened. I'm devastated, but I'm not surprised. You see, imagination isn't child's play. It is the silent, invisible director of our lives, quiet yet powerful, rewriting our script without ever asking permission. So, how do we train our imagination in a positive direction? Not by forcing ourselves to think good thoughts, but by shifting the emotional atmosphere of the soul. You can't plant a rose seed in poisoned soil and expect it to bloom. So the first step is emotional cleansing, releasing resentment, fear, and shame. Start with your breath. With every inhale, invite in light. With every exhale, let the dark clouds in your heart dissolve. Next, write down the image you truly desire, clearly, vividly, with as much sensory detail as possible. Don't just write, "I want to be rich." Write, "I see myself stepping into a sun-filled home, the smell of fresh coffee in the air, children's laughter echoing through the halls, fresh flowers on the table. My bank account full." Read this vision every morning when you wake, and every night before you sleep. Close your eyes and see yourself living inside that scene. Let the joy of it soak into every cell. If it feels difficult, ask yourself, if I truly believed this were real, how would I feel? Then hold on to that feeling. Gradually, the image will sink into your subconscious, and once the subconscious accepts it, your reality will follow without effort. Never ask, "But how could this possibly happen?" That's not your job. That's the domain of the divine mind, the infinite intelligence, where all things are possible. Your only task is to keep the vision clear and free of doubt. I want to invite you, reading these words right now, to join me in a simple daily practice. 3 minutes in the morning, 3 minutes at night. Visualize one ideal scene from your life and send it into the universe as a declaration. This is what I choose. And if you ever feel alone on this journey, don't worry. Leave a comment below. I'm learning to use my imagination in the right direction. Together, we'll create a conscious community where no one is left behind, where we all remind each other of the power within. Because you don't have to wait for life to be perfect to start living. You just have to begin seeing the good, and life will gradually shape itself into something even more beautiful than you imagined. In the next part, we'll journey deeper into the mind, into the subconscious, and uncover why the words you repeat every day are the destiny codes that shape your future. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn could shift the entire timeline of your life. If the subconscious is a loyal servant, then the superconscious is the true master of your life. Florence Scovel Shinn called it the God mind, the divine intelligence working through every breath, every moment, every sacred dream you've ever held in your heart. But the unfortunate truth is, most of us don't live from the God mind. We live from subconscious habits programmed by fear. Have you ever just known something without proof? A deep inner nudge telling you to turn left instead of right? Or a whisper soft as wind saying, "Trust this"? That's the God mind speaking. The God mind doesn't shout. It doesn't argue. It doesn't compete with the ego's noisy conversations. It whispers only when you are still enough to listen. Florence once wrote, "The God mind is the fountain of every right idea. When you are connected to it, you can no longer lose your way." The key to accessing the God mind isn't being smarter, studying more, or doing more. It's surrendering more, letting go of control, releasing overanalysis and doubt, and instead cultivating stillness, trust, and a willingness to receive. Try this simple practice each morning when you wake up. Don't reach for your phone. Instead, place your hand over your heart and ask, "What does the God mind in me wish to say today?" Then be silent. At first you may hear nothing, but if you stay consistent, you'll begin to receive messages not in words, but in clear knowing, a sense of direction that needs no explanation. That is divine wisdom guidance from beyond the reasoning mind. One woman shared how every time she prayed for guidance, she saw an image in her mind, a small house with a vegetable garden. Though she lived in a busy city and held a demanding job, she kept that image in her heart. 3 years later, she left her job, moved to the countryside, and opened a healing homestay in the very house she had once envisioned. No one told her to do it, but she knew, and she trusted. Florence taught that when you are aligned with the God mind, you don't need to create your future. You simply receive the plan that has already been perfectly prepared for you, one far greater than anything you could have imagined. What you once thought was a loss may turn out to be the exact path to what's right. What you thought was late may be arriving in divine timing. If you're walking through a foggy season right now, don't be afraid. It may be that the God mind is turning off the outer lights, so you'll return within. Each night, write in your journal, I allow the divine intelligence within me to guide my path. And each day, pay attention to the small things, a conversation, an idea, an unexpected invitation. These are not random, they are signals. I believe you, yes, you reading this, can begin living from the God mind today. And you are not alone. Leave a comment below with the words I choose to live from the God mind. This is not just a sentence, it's a declaration to the universe. Together, we'll share our journey creating a soul-connected community where every heart is reminded of the divine wisdom waiting to be awakened. Because you don't have to have it all figured out to start. You just have to trust that there's a plan greater than your fears and allow it to unfold one quiet whisper at a time. In the next section, we'll explore something crucial. Something that, if missed, could cause you to play the game wrong. The necessity of releasing what no longer belongs to you. Florence called it voluntarily letting go of the wrong, so the right may take its place. Stay with me as we uncover why letting go is the sacred key to unlocking the destiny you were truly meant for. There is something quieter yet more powerful than fear attachment. It doesn't scream like anxiety, nor is it as obvious as anger, but it lingers, loops, clings to your mind like a song stuck on repeat. Florence Scovel Shinn called it the invisible knot that blocks the divine flow from entering your life. What is attachment? It's when you can't let something or someone go from your mind. A person, a result, a past. It's when you no longer seek what is right, but insist that it must happen this way, with this person at this time, or not at all. A young woman once came to Florence and said, I want to marry AB. He's my destiny. I've prayed, visualized, affirmed, but he still hasn't chosen me. Florence simply replied, if he is the right one, he cannot be lost. And if he leaves, God has a divine equivalent for you. Sometime later, the woman met someone else, a man who deeply loved her, whom she married and built a joyful life with. She said, now I understand had I married AB, I might have lived in misery. Attachment doesn't just show up in love. It appears in work when you cling to a role or title that drains you. It shows up in money when you grip every dollar from fear of lack. It shows up in dreams when you believe there's only one way to your happiness. Ask yourself, are you attached? Do you constantly think about someone or something until it exhausts you? Do you feel angry, anxious, or powerless when things don't go as planned? Are you postponing your joy until that thing happens? If the answer is yes, you may be caught in a sweet but dangerous attachment. It may feel like you're practicing the law of attraction, but in truth, you may be trying to control with fear. And when you control, you block miracles. Florence once said, the more you hold on, the more you push it away. Only when you release can the miracle enter. Imagine holding a bird in your hands, grip it too tightly, and you suffocate it. Let go with love, and it returns because it knows this is a place of freedom. So, how do you move past attachment by trading it for trust? When you desire something, say, I desire this, or something better according to divine will. Repeat often. If this is mine, it will stay. If not, I am open to something greater. Then let go gently, gratefully, without regret. Try this simple ritual each night. Write down the thing you're attached to on paper. Beneath it, write, "I release this. I trust in divine order." Then tear the paper or burn it softly by candlelight as an act of energetic release. I invite you, yes, you reading this now, if something in your heart feels stirred, leave a comment. I choose to let go to receive what's right. You might not even be sure what you're attached to, but the simple intention to release can begin to shift everything. And don't be afraid of loss. You only lose what was never truly yours. What is right will always come, not early, not late, but on time. In the next part, I'll share with you a powerful tool for cleansing energy and using your words like a sword of light to cut through invisible ties and make room for the life you truly deserve. Don't miss it, because the words you speak can reshape your destiny. Florence once wrote, "Your word is your wand. What you speak returns to you multiplied." We all know that negative words can hurt. But few realize this. The words you speak about your own life are quietly crafting your destiny. You can use words like a curse. "I'll never get ahead. I guess I'm meant to be alone. I'm weak, always sick." And then, sure enough, your life begins to match that frequency. But you can also learn to use words like magic transforming reality toward abundance, wellness, and love. Let me share with you 3 short stories, 3 declarations that changed entire lives. 1. Words that created prosperity. George, a man unemployed for over 8 months, was nearly out of hope. One day he came across one of Florence's affirmations. "Money comes to me easily, constantly, and from unexpected sources." He began repeating it daily, even though at first he felt a little silly. But something strange happened. Just 2 weeks later, an old friend called with a surprise opportunity. That one call opened a new financial flow. George said, "I didn't change anything, except how I spoke about money." 2. Words that healed the body. A middle-aged woman suffered from chronic migraines for years. Nothing worked. Then she discovered this affirmation. "My body is the temple of light filled with divine vitality." She began saying it each morning, placing her hand gently on her forehead. Within weeks, her pain began to lessen. After a few months, she felt renewed energy moving through her whole body. She wrote in her journal, "The words I spoke became my spiritual medicine." 3. Words that attracted love. A young woman had a long pattern of romantic rejection. Deep down, she kept telling herself, "I'm unlovable. No one truly chooses me." After studying Florence's work, she changed her daily declaration to, "I am pure love. I attract only the best." Within months, she met someone she once thought was out of her league. 2 years later, they were married. 3 stories. 1 simple truth: your words are signals sent out to the universe. And the universe, like a faithful mirror, reflects back exactly what you transmit. You can start with the simplest declarations. I am healing quickly with the support of divine intelligence. I am a magnet for opportunity and kindness. Love comes to me easily, deeply, and at the perfect time. The key is not robotic repetition, but real feeling. When you speak, imagine your words as beams of light laying a golden path into your future, making way for what's meant to be. So I invite you right now to leave a comment below. I choose to use my words as magic. Let that be your first spoken affirmation to the world, a signal that you're ready to shift into a new energetic space. And if you already have a favorite affirmation, or you want to create one uniquely your own, share it. Because in the next part, I'll show you how to craft your own declarations in harmony with the laws of the soul, so that every word you speak carries real transforming power, not just empty slogans. Have you ever felt a deep, unmistakable knowing that something was right even when everyone around you disagreed? Or a quiet unease, even when everything seemed perfect on the outside? Florence Scovel Shinn called this the divine intuition, the gentle whisper of the soul, subtle yet profoundly accurate. In today's chaotic world where noise, social media, anxiety, and expectations keep your mind constantly spinning, intuition often gets drowned out. But it never disappears. It simply retreats into the shadows, waiting for you to return. And returning means coming back to inner stillness. Florence taught silence is the condition for the divine to speak. When you are quiet enough, not just on the outside, but within, you begin to receive guidance. Not loud, not logical, but unmistakably clear. It may come as an image in your mind, a sensation in your chest, a subtle pull you can't explain but know you must follow. Here's a simple technique to reconnect with your intuition called the sacred minute of stillness. Choose a quiet space, your room, a garden corner, or simply a soft-lit chair with a candle. Take 3 deep breaths, place your hand over your heart. Feel the rhythm like knocking gently on the door of your soul. Ask a simple question. What is my intuition saying about this? And don't rush to answer. Just listen. Observe. If your mind wanders, don't force it to stop. Gently return your attention to your breath and heartbeat. End with this affirmation: I allow the divine wisdom within me to guide my path. You don't need to hear a voice, you just need to trust the feeling that begins to arise. It may be as soft as mist, but it will grow clearer with daily practice in stillness. One of Florence's students shared this story. I was torn between 2 job offers, one with a higher salary, but it felt heavy in my chest. The other was smaller, but I felt peace. I chose the peaceful one. 6 months later, the company secured funding, and I became a co-founder. I didn't know why I chose it. I just knew. Intuition is never frantic. It always arrives with a feeling of openness, calm and flow. On the other hand, if you're feeling anxious, overly analytical, or afraid of missing out, you're likely listening to fear, not your inner guide. I invite you to begin a 5-minute silence practice each day. And if you've ever had a moment when your intuition saved or guided, you share it in the comments. I was once guided by intuition. That's how we build a community, rooted not in noisy logic, but in sacred listening, where the divine is always speaking, waiting for you to hear. In the final part, we'll go deeper into Florence's ultimate secret, the golden key that unlocks every door: absolute faith. Because without faith, every technique is just empty form. Get ready to rise into the higher realm of spiritual creation, where all true miracles begin. If you've stayed with me this far, I believe something within your heart has already begun to shift. Not because you heard a new theory, but because your soul was reminded of something it's always known: you are a co-creator with the universe. And life, with all its unexpected turns, is always guided by a loving intelligence working through you. Florence Scovel Shinn didn't build a positive philosophy for you to follow. She simply held up a mirror so you could see yourself again in your purest form, someone who knows where they are, what they're choosing, and who holds the power to speak the reality they wish to experience. If there's one thing you take with you after this video, let it be this: every word you speak, every thought you think, every belief you hold, and every time you let go, you are making a creative declaration. You don't need to do more. You just need to see more clearly, listen more deeply, speak less, but more truthfully, and allow the divine wisdom within you to act. Start gently. 1 affirmation each morning. 1 minute of stillness each night. 1 decision to stop controlling. 1 choice to say I trust instead of I fear. Just 1 small step is enough, because 1 small step repeated with intention will begin to redraw your entire destiny. I invite you to share in the comments below: I choose to live by the laws of the soul, if something in this video awakened something deep within you. Or share one of your favorite affirmations so our community can grow a field of uplifting, powerful words together. And if this video touched your heart, don't hesitate to subscribe and share it with someone you care about. Because maybe, just maybe, what you're learning today is the very key they've been searching for. Each week, I'll continue to bring you insights, stories, and soul-centered practices from Florence Scovel Shinn, shared in a way that's relatable, heartfelt, and practical for your modern life. And if you leave or a comment saying, "I'm ready," I'll know you're walking this path of transformation, not alone. Thank you not just for watching, but for truly listening to the calling of your soul. And remember, you are not limited by your circumstances. You are simply learning to remember the power you've always carried within.